Hey everybody, welcome to the second lecture in Module 3 on using primary and secondary research in your discourse analysis paper. In this lecture, I'm going to mainly focus on primary research. You all should be familiar with secondary research. Secondary research is the kind of research that you're probably used to doing mainly. That would include stuff like going out on a library database, going to the library and grabbing a book, looking at newspapers, looking at like government websites. The kind of research where you go out and you find something done by someone else and then sort of bring it into your own work and use it in a different way or use it to support your argument, etc., etc. For the discourse analysis paper, the majority of your secondary sources will be sources created by the community you're analyzing. So for example, if you're looking at a UC club, you would want to look at, maybe if the UC club has a Facebook page, look at that, their Twitter, if they have that, a blog. If you're in the group, take a look at the emails that circulate between members of the group. Take a look at any sort of like brochure, pamphlet, newsletter. But basically, the majority of secondary sources that you're going to want to look at for the discourse analysis are going to be things that are produced within the discourse community. And that can include things like YouTube videos, anything along those lines. Remember, it doesn't have to be written. It can be visual, it can be auditory, it can be, any form of communication. Now, while that will be the majority of your secondary resources, depending on what your topic happens to be, you may or may not use some of the things we classically think of as secondary sources, like scholarly articles, research books, stuff like that. Again, you may or may not use those. So for example, if you're looking at, the UC Underwater Basket Weaving Club, they don't actually have one of those, but for example's sake. There's probably not a lot of scholarly research on that. So you're going to have to look at mainly things produced within that club. But if you're looking at something, for example, like a particular fraternity or a particular sorority, academic research might be more useful there because there are tons and tons and tons of academic research on fraternities and sororities. So depending on what your topic happens to be, you may or may not use those secondary resources that you usually use in papers, namely scholarly books, articles, journals, studies, stuff like that. No matter what discourse community you're looking at, you will look at documents and other sorts of communication apparatuses, apparati, I'm not sure what the plural that is. Anyway, you will definitely look at things produced within that community. So that's secondary research. Now, primary research is any type of research that you go out and collect yourself. These are things like surveys, interviews, observations, ethnographic research, stuff like that. Remember, in your discourse community analysis, you're required to have at least one primary source. So that means at least one survey that you've done yourself, or one interview you've done yourself, or some first-hand observation you've done yourself, stuff like that. But no matter what, your discourse community analysis has to have at least one primary source. Here are some examples, just quickly, of different kinds of primary sources. Interviews, so, interview someone else in the community, interview an expert on that community, stuff like that. Surveys. So, come up with some questions that you think will help you sort of come to some conclusions about or help you describe whatever community you happen to be describing. Observation. Go to a meeting, go to a place where this community actually is in action and kind of see how they talk, see how they communicate, sort of just get a kind of a handle on what's going on the ground. This last kind probably won't be applicable for your own discourse analysis, but it might be. That's the analysis, where you go out and actually collect data. So, for example, age, gender, socioeconomic status, and then you sort of, based on that data, make sort of conclusions, right? Again, this probably won't be used in your discourse community analysis, but there's an off chance it might be. You will probably tend to use these first three in your analysis, so just keep that in mind. I have some things on interviews, surveys, case studies, observations, stuff like that, so I'll pull those up. I'm not going to go over them in great detail, but I just want you to see what sort of stuff is available. So see, I have this big long worksheet on how to conduct an interview. Likewise, I have some stuff on doing case studies, observations, surveys, whatnot. So this stuff is available to you. If you have any questions about how you should conduct this, come see me. But also, the Purdue OWL has a lot of stuff on interviewing, surveying, stuff like that. So also take a look at the Purdue OWL. That can definitely help you. But also take a look at the third lecture, integrating sources into your work, because I also have some things on primary and secondary research in that video. The video is not by me, so I don't have them in there, but whoever created the video has stuff on primary and secondary research in there, so that might also help you. But just keep in mind that, one, you have to do primary research of some kind for this paper, and two, the secondary research that you do will primarily be looking at documents and sort of communication of the group that you're looking at. So it may not have a lot of scholarly research that you may sort of have done in a lot of your other papers. But like I mentioned, if you have any questions, email me, Skype with me, post on the discussion board, and I can answer them for you.